The Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and your local cable provider presents Cable Reports. Join us now as Cable Reports brings you up to date on current issues facing the Commonwealth through discussions with your local legislators and other policymakers from across Virginia.
Welcome from the General Assembly in the City of Richmond. I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Comcast. We have three members of the House of Delegates today. Delegate Peter Farrell, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Delegate John O'Bannon, welcome back.
Thank you, Woody.
Delegate Jimmie Massie, good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Woody. Pleasure to be here.
I will start with the freshman member of the House of Delegates. Delegate Farrell, welcome, sir. Tell us how the transition has been for you. I know you were a staffer for a number of years here.
Yes, the transition, I would say, has been good. I think being a former staffer only has an advantage because you know your way around the building. You're exposed to how the process works, and you know, the little things like that really, I've noticed, do make a very big difference. So I would say it's been good. It's been enjoyable. It's been a good experience. It's a lot of good hard work, and I think we're doing okay. We're hanging in.
I believe you have a committee meeting shortly coming up, General Laws, and I believe you're also on Courts of Justice.
Yes, that is correct, and which is unique. I'm not an attorney. I'm one of three non-attorney members on Courts of Justice, which I think is actually good to have a different perspective than the typical lawyer perspective, because those laws we do pass in courts really do affect a lot of people.
And is it as busy as it was when you were a staffer, or even more so?
I would say it's a little different. I was a staffer on the Senate side. It is very busy. Courts, I believe, sees almost as many bills as the rest of the committees combined. A lot of bills, but it's a lot of fun. It's very interesting, and it's a lot of thorough work. I mean, it's amazing how one sentence or one word really has a great effect on a person's life. And
Delegate O'Bannon, how are things going?
Things are great, Woody.
Tell us about what's going on in your areas of concern.
Well, I've been telling folks two things. I think 2012 is going to be better than 2011, and I think we're going to be gone by March 10th, or the day after, which is hopefully the day we leave. We've gotten organized. The pace is actually very fast. We've taken Governor McDonald's lead on efficiency, and our folks have made a pledge to get the budget conferees going. I think the budget's certainly one of the biggest things we do. We hope and plan to have that on everybody's desks on time this year so that folks can have ample opportunity to look at exactly what's in the budget, and then we'll be able to do our business and go home on time.
And your committee assignments?
I am on the Health Committee, called Health, Welfare, and Institutions. I'm on the Privileges and Elections Committee, which is, you know, is a lot of fun. It's the oldest standing committee in the General Assembly, and a lot of heritage to that one, and also serve on the Appropriations Committee.
Now tell us a little bit about how your background as a medical doctor informs your decision-making process here.
Well, we, as you know, have a very diverse General Assembly. We have 100 members in the House of Delegates, and we have folks from all walks of life. We do have 3 physicians. We have a couple of pharmacists, a nurse, a physical therapist, and so folks with that kind of background, my background in medicine, I think is helpful when we look at what a large part of the budget, the Medicaid program, plays and these other decisions that we deal with in health care, but particularly in the funding.
And Delegate Massie, sir, how are things going for you so far?
It's been a great start so far, Woody. I mean, I represent the 72nd District, which is just west of John's district out in western Henrico. I'm again been reappointed to the Appropriations Committee, and I'm now a subcommittee chairman on Technology Oversight and Government Activity Subcommittee. I also serve on the Education Subcommittee. And Woody, we have a lot to be thankful for in Virginia. I mean, we're the best managed state, 4th best state in which to raise a child, the best state in the country to do business in. But we still have some improvements that we can make. And I think Peter and John and I are focused on, the government really has 4 priorities this year. Job creation is priority number 1. Balancing our budget without a tax increase is number 2. We want to make some investments in K through 12 education, higher education this year, and then we want to do some government reform and some VRS work this year. So I think the 3 of us are working with our supermajority now in the House, and we're going to make Virginia, we're going to try to come out of this legislative session with Virginia even being a better state to live and work and raise your family.
Now, part of that government reform effort includes the consolidation of a number of state agencies that have overlapping duties and responsibilities. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's not an area of public policy expertise for me, but you know, the state of Virginia is a very large organization, and there's a lot of inertia in there, and there are a lot of private interest groups in there. It just grown. The boards and commissions have just grown too large. There's just a lot of overlap, and so it's just time. You know, you need to go back and review those every so often. And there's just a number. You know, it's a very large bill, but we're going to eliminate some boards and commissions, consolidate some boards and commissions, and it's just a natural process of review and consolidation that we think at the end of the day is going to deliver the people of Virginia better government at a cheaper price.
And you mentioned job creation, and of course part of this consolidation effort will result in, I assume, doing away with some unnecessary and burdensome rules and regulations that affect small business.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, again, we need to simplify and streamline and reduce the size and scope of government and the cost thereof, and all of those things will help small businesses compete better in this extremely difficult economic environment that they have. Great.
Delegate Farrell, I know that you have a piece of legislation relating to EpiPen. And there was an incident recently in your district, I believe, that led you to introduce that bill. Can you tell us about that?
It wasn't actually in my district. It was across the river. And before I get into the bill, I'd like to thank my colleague to my left, Dr. O'Bannon, who's been a great help on the bill and his medical expertise. Quite frankly, without it, there would not be a bill. The bill simply states that public schools will have 2 EpiPens located on their facilities. We're still working on the exact protocols, exactly where and who will be in charge and the training, how's that administered. But, you know, I have had some feedback that some people say this may be a mandate. Well, and that's something that I'm not afraid to say. In this case, it is. And in this case, it's a good one because, quite frankly, tragically, as we have seen, it is a matter of life and death. They are not difficult to administer. As John will tell you, they are not difficult to learn how to use. This is a good bill, and this is a good policy idea. Because from what I understand, of all the children who have food allergies, 23% of them, I believe, are undiagnosed. So there are kids out there who don't know that they need an EpiPen. And this bill really looks out not only for the ones we know about, but also for the ones that we don't.
Great. Delegate O'Bannon, talk to us in a little bit more detail about what an EpiPen is, how it's administered, what's its utility.
You bet, Woody. People who have allergies are at risk of having a severe reaction when they get exposed to what triggers their allergy. And that causes what's called anaphylaxis. That's a reaction in the body where chemicals are triggered to go into the bloodstream, which can actually stop the heart. And the EpiPen, which is a trade name, really, this is a syringe with adrenaline in it. And it's carefully made so that it's foolproof. Anybody can administer this. And we actually have precedent in Virginia. Virginia schools, I think, all have these AEDs, the external defibrillators, which have also gotten very efficient and are very easy to use. So one of the things Peter and the folks involved in this are looking at is to make sure that this is going to happen again. The incidence of allergies is going up, not down. So sooner or later this is going to happen again. So we want to have these in the schools where they can be available. Let the schools decide where they want them maybe, but we want to make sure that they're where they'll be available so they can be used when the next emergency happens.
Is there a reason why the incidence of allergies is going up from your perspective?
I'm a simple brain doctor, Woody. I'm not an allergist. I expect it is certainly related to our environment, maybe, environmental triggers. I really haven't talked to an allergist about that, but I do know that you don't have to walk or talk or go very far to find somebody who has a child or a friend or a loved one who has already got a diagnosed allergy. And so I think this is important. I think we'll get it done.
So the AED device you talk about, those are the devices that deliver a shock to one's heart.
Mm-hmm. We also see tragedies from time to time in young folks who, some of whom are athletes, but they have this condition with the hypertrophy of the muscle of the heart, which can cause heart rhythm problems. And so and this was actually with the help, I think, of the Heart Association, some years ago got, just like you see those in other public places like airports and public buildings, and here in this building, those are in the school systems now. And this EpiPen idea, the adrenaline, is just a logical partner with that.
Sure. Delegate Massie, you talked about our investment in education, especially K through 12. I believe the governor has indicated additional funding of about $438 million this year. Talk to us about the necessity to do that.
Yeah, thank you, Woody. I mean, look, you know, education, if we're not educating our children, that really is our seed corn for the future. You know, we're not doing much around here. Education, and you look at the general fund budget, education is over $5 billion out of a $17 billion general fund budget. So it is absolutely critical that we do a great job of educating our children. And I think the governor over the years has made education a priority, and we will continue to make education a priority. We're very fortunate in Virginia. We have great public schools. We are ranked by Education Week magazine as the 4th best state in which to raise a child. But we can still do better. And just as an aside, one of the initiatives that the governor and I are working on are my educational improvement scholarship bills. Look, as I said, we have great public schools in Virginia, and in Henrico County we have really good schools where John and Peter and I reside. But, you know, it's not a one-size-fits-all for all children. And so there are going to be some children, 1, 2, 3, maybe much as 5% of the children, who might do better in a different educational environment. So my educational improvement scholarships bill is modeled after a highly successful program in Florida that's been down there for 10 years. It allows corporations to make donorships to scholarship organizations, and then for those scholarship organizations to turn around and award scholarships to low-income children. And the bill's been in place in Florida for 10 years. It's been studied ad nauseum down there by numerous independent studies, and all of those studies have proven 3 things. Number one, this program helps 40,000 kids in Florida. It really improves the students' performance. Number 2, it saves the state a lot of money. And number 3, I know this might come as a surprise to some, but those of us in the competitive market world, it won't come as a competition, Woody, actually makes the public schools better. Even though some of the public school constituencies don't want to have to compete, it actually makes them better. So we've been able to pass this bill out of the House the last couple of years. The governor fully supports the bill, and with some of the new dynamics down in the Senate, I think the 3 of us are hopeful that, and I really appreciate Peter's and John's support on the bill. I think we're very optimistic that we could get a bill passed and really help a lot of children in the state of Virginia.
Great. Delegate Farrell, you know the Senate. What about school choice? Do you think there's an appetite there, especially with the lieutenant governor having the tie vote to pass legislation like was just discussed?
Right. Well, and first let me say that I really like Jimmie's bill. I think it starts moving us in a right direction, and I hope one day to show that Jimmie's bill really works and even perhaps go steps further, because I think Jimmie would agree with me that the parents having a choice to put competition in our school markets is a good thing. It is a very good thing. I do think with the new dynamics in the Senate, I do think you have an appetite for it. I do think it may come down to a party line vote over there. I am not an expert on the new dynamics of the Senate, but I do feel very good about the chances of the bill, and I think it's a great start in getting more competition for parents.
And Delegate O'Bannon, do we need more charter schools?
I think we do, Woody. It's interesting. I actually have a sister-in-law who is a teacher in a charter school in Florida. And I've talked to her, and I think this common sense idea that there's nothing wrong with some competition within the public arena. And I've listened to the arguments from both sides, but I think if you look at Virginia and the so very few charter schools that we have, and the fact that charter schools in other states are very successful, sort of puts us a little bit behind the times, and I think it makes sense to go in this direction.
Now, something that goes hand in hand with this discussion, of course, is the Virginia retirement system, because obviously it has an impact on teachers and others who work for state agencies. What's likely to happen this session, if any? There were some baby steps made last session in terms of reform and contributions by employees, but What's likely to happen this session?
I think we're going to see a more significant reform of that system. It's certainly on the governor's radar screen. I think my feeling is that we probably all will need to give a little and participate in the sacrifice to make that worse. I have an awful lot of state employees in my district, and I have been reluctant to subject them, folks that have been here a long time, in other words, backward looking, but certainly for new hires where we're looking at folks who, the world's changed. Folks don't often stay in one job for 30 or 40 years like they used to. The world is mobile now. So I think we need to update that and look at making it a little stronger and make it actually maybe work better for the folks.
So